Hi guys, Nick Watts here for We Love Betting. I'm back again after another 2 out of 3 last week. Spurs obviously let me down and I was a little bit pleased with that one. I have to say, obviously you want your treble and I guess I would have settled for them dropping 2 points, but as an Arsenal fan, I couldn't help but be a little bit gleeful. The only regret was that I didn't trade out at 2-1 really, and I could have locked in a bit of profit and taken full delight in their defeat at Liverpool, but oh well, I guess you live and learn, don't you? So this week, 3 more picks as usual from the top flight. I'm starting with Stoke against West Brom. Interesting pricing this in the match prices, in as much that Stoke 6-4 on their own patch. Somewhat unthinkable really in pre-season. It always seems to sort of kind of be around the even money mark, maybe 11-10 against these kind of near rivals, I guess you'd consider them. But they have lost 7 and 9 now. They're really poor in terms of their form. Even lost from going a goal ahead against Newcastle last week, which only further demoralises them. Bottom of the last 8 form table overall. Not too bad at home really though. They've won 3, drawn 3, lost 2, and those 2 defeats have been the only defeats they've had at the Britannia this season. They've earned 72% of their points at home, and this is the sort of game that I could see them having a bit of a revival, especially at a price like 6-4, which I think is probably a touch too big. But then I guess I would have said that about the West Ham game in a way. So for me, I'm going to swerve it this time. West Brom away, not exactly a brilliant side to kind of support that a little bit. They've won 4, drawn 2, lost 8. And 2/3 of their points at the Hawthorns. But yeah, I might be tempted by a punt, but I'm not going to take it as one of my best bets for this weekend. What I am going to do from this game though is look at both teams to score at 10-11. Looks a bit of a juicy price to me, based on the fact that Stoke's defence is ailing somewhat, and I've talked about that in recent videos. And West Brom as well, they're not exactly ship shape at the back on their travels. They're averaging 1.7 goals against them away from home, conceded in every away game bar one, and that was that somewhat freak result at Liverpool really. I was at that game, one and only time I've been to Anfield. Not the greatest of nights to be there in all honesty. Bit of a flat atmosphere. Strange Liverpool performance where they really huffed and puffed and eventually got a penalty, and then fans were kind of celebrating like they'd already scored, and of course they missed, and it was just one of those nights where West Brom were always going to score with their only chances of the game, which they did on the break and won 2-0. So I don't take too much from that in that respect. Looking at Stoke, without a clean sheet now in 11 games, that stark contrast from the early part of the season, which is only backed up by this next stat, which is that the first 6 Stoke home games of the year, both teams to score paid out only once in those 6 games. Of the next 8, which brings us up to now, it's paid out 6 times. So 10-11 looks a bit juicy to me. The only danger, of course, is that Stoke don't score an awful lot of goals. Only QPR have actually scored less, but they do score twice as many at the Britannia as they do away. So I'm wanting to put that aside and go for both teams to score here. Second bet is an interesting one. It's Manchester United Reading. I'm obviously not going to be with United here at 2-11. This is just a classic case of the bookies not wanting to take money on Manchester United. And not only that, if they are going to take it, which inevitably they are, they want to take it at a price that's far too short. Reading 20-1 in places, incredible really. You don't see that sort of price for a team to win an individual match all that often, particularly in the Premier League. The recent examples that I can think of were the Blackburn game at Old Trafford, where of course they won 3-2, and Reading earlier on the season when they played Man City and they lost 1-0. But what it is there is some handicap value really, and that's what it opens up with these big prices. I actually had +3 goals on both of those occasions, and of course they came in, which was very nice indeed. So I'm going back in for it again here. You can get Reading +2.5 goals at 9-10 with Bet365, or 4-5 with Coral for them +3 goals. In terms of the stats, Manchester United have won 23 games, very impressive that in itself, but 19 of those have been by the 1 or 2 goals. They've had a couple of blowout wins, of course, the Norwich game recently. Twice they've beaten Wigan 4-0, and I think they beat Newcastle 3-0 as well. So yeah, of course they're capable of the big win here, but I just don't think it's always that logical that just because the side's much better than another that they're going to absolutely smash them. And I would have thought whoever's in charge of Reading this weekend is going to get them digging in and trying to defend well, which of course they've struggled with a little bit this season. But again, you look at the flip side of those Man United stats. They've lost 16 games of Reading, 13 of those by 1 or 2 goals. And actually the times that this sort of +3 bet wouldn't have paid out were against Sunderland, Wigan, and Arsenal. So on the whole, it hasn't been the big teams that have given them a spanking, really. They lost by a single goal to the 2 Manchester clubs in the encounter so far, by 2 goals to Chelsea and Spurs. And they've actually scored in 6 or 7 meetings with the top 5 sides. So, if they get on the score sheet, there's a great chance of that +3 coming in. But I can see Manchester United running out 2-0 easy winners here and never really having to get out of second gear. And if that's the case, I think the +3 bet still has a lot of legs in it. So 9 to 10 with bet 365 the way forward. Third and final bet then, it's another couple of teams that have been getting involved with the overs a lot recently, and I'm dipping back in again here. All the usual stats, just when you team them up together, make 4 to 5 for over 2.5 goals, look a little bit juicy. It's Wigan against Newcastle. Wigan averaged 3.14 total goals per game. Only Manchester United and Liverpool actually can better that tally, but nobody can back them for paying out on over 2.5 goals. 75% of their games overall have delivered on that front. 79% at home, so even bigger tally there. They've conceded 55 goals, only Reading have conceded more, and that's only a recent development that Reading have kind of overtaken them as the worst defence in the league. But it is the worst defence at home though. Wigan's 31 goals conceded in their 14 home games. Of course, that's more than 2 a game. And they've conceded in every home game. No clean sheets at the DW for Wigan. So, visiting Newcastle, seen plenty of goals themselves. Like to score a few, I think. 66% of their games overall have been over 2.5 goal marks. So, conceded an all but one away game, which was a 0-0 draw at Norwich, and they've averaged just slightly less than Wigan, and it's 3.10 total goals per game. Makes 4 to 5 for me for the over 2.5 goals mark. Look pretty tasty. So that's my 3 bets. I'm hoping for the treble this week. Unlike Mark O'Hare, I'd probably take 2 out of 3 if I'm honest. But let's go for all 3, shall we? Let's be greedy.